As the saying goes, everything that has a beginning must surely have an end. And we have come to the end of the year 2021. As we all know, a road is never a straight line. Hence, the journey in 2021 has been full of ups, downs, struggles, hope, faith, belief, assurance, you name it. Hello, my name is Maraiksia Umar and I'll be taking you down the road of the year 2021 in this review. 2021 began on a Friday in Nigeria, with many making their habitual New Year resolutions and convincing themselves they will plow the course of the year. Most often than not, though, many of these resolutions will be reneged on before the middle of the year. The cycle will continue the following year with renewed vigor of honoring their resolutions to the latter. As the Harmattan began to hold sway in the month of January across much of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari shook up the top military command, appointing new generals at the helm of affairs in efforts to mitigate the advances of bandits, ISWAP and Boko Haram members. 6 days earlier, history was made in the United States as Kamala Harris became the first female and African-American vice president after she was sworn into office along with President Joe Biden for a 4-year term. However, just 2 weeks after, supporters of former President Donald Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 election. In February, a military coup d'etat in Myanmar that saw Aung San Suu Kyi removed from power was the first of several coups that took place in the course of 2021. This coup in faraway Asia somewhat set off a chain reaction of coups, particularly in some African countries, which included Mali, Chad, Niger, Guinea, and Sudan. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, the first of several kidnappings of school children began with the Kagara abduction in Niger State and the abduction of 317 schoolgirls in Zamfara State 9 days later. This was followed by the abductions in the College of Forestry and Greenfield University in Kaduna State, Tegina, Kebbi, and Chikun. All of a sudden, the kidnap for ransom business seemed to be thriving at the expense of innocent school children. The United States formally rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement, an international treaty aimed at limiting global warming. In March, Pope Francis met with Grand Ayatollah Ali Al-Sistani in Najaf, Iraq, the first ever meeting between a Pope and Grand Ayatollah. President Buhari publicly received the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, urging Nigerians to follow his lead. However, data from the World Health Organization will later reveal that Nigeria has one of the lowest vaccination rates in the world, with 2 out of 100 Nigerians fully vaccinated against COVID-19. In April, strongman Idris Deby, president of Chad, is killed in clashes with rebel forces after 30 years in office. The death of the senior Deby brings to an end one of the several eras of a sit-tight African president. The icing on the cake for April, however, was when history was made by Nigeria's very own Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who assumed office as the first female and African to head the World Trade Organization. With her unique pedigree, experience, and humility, among other impressive qualities, Nigeria will not be at a loss in having her as president. However, the question remains, will she run for office of the President of Nigeria if called upon? One can only hope so. In the United States, a Minneapolis jury found former police officer Derek Chauvin guilty of murdering George Floyd a year earlier. A tragic incident occurred on 23rd May in Kano when a fire outbreak occurred at Al Ihsan filling station in Sharada and claimed 70 lives. In the same month, on the 29th, the Emir of Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, tabarant Aminu Babbadan Agundi as Sarkin Dawaki. Still in May, as pregnant clouds gathered in many parts of the country preparing to unleash a torrent, the 2021 Israel-Palestine crisis began on the 11th of May with Israel hitting the Gaza Strip with airstrikes. This occurred after Israel began displacing Palestinians in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood of East Jerusalem. Towards the end of the month, Nigerians were forced to mourn for a national hero when Nigeria's Army Chief Lieutenant General Ibrahim Atahiru was tragically killed in a plane crash alongside other military officers. June began with the social media platform Twitter removing one of President Buhari's tweets and suspending his account. 2 days later, the bird app operations in the country felt the full ire of the Nigerian government. Twitter operations were suspended with the government, arguing that the company engages in activities that are capable of undermining Nigeria's corporate existence. Almost 6 months later, Twitter operations are yet to be restored, and many Nigerians have resorted to virtual private network to access the bird app to get their daily scoops. 10 days into the month, bandits literally unleashed their macabre bloodletting for 2 days in Zamfara State, killing over 53 people. However, not all the news that came from the north was centered on killings and kidnappings. A daughter of the soil, Amina Mohammed, was reappointed for another 5-year term as Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. The former minister thus became the third woman and second African woman to serve in the role. June saw the partial collapse of a 12-story condominium in Southside, Florida, killing 98 residents in the United States. President Muhammadu Buhari was in Kano on 15th July and he commissioned the Kano-Kaduna Rail Line project. On the 10th of the same month, a debate was held between a scholar that was accused of blasphemy in Islam, Abdul Jabbar Kabara, and other learned scholars in Kano. On 3rd July, the coronation of the Emir of Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, took place, where he was given the staff of office by Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. Still in July, football lovers were once again treated to an epic tournament, the UEFA Euro 2020, hosted by an unprecedented 11 different countries. It was won by Italy's Azzurri, beating England on penalties. The highlight of the match was that racism was very much still around. Thus, it wasn't unsurprising when racist abuses and chants began to target the 3 black English players, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, and Bukayo Saka, who missed penalties during the shootout. Back in Nigeria, towards the end of the month, a military plane was shot down by bandits in Zamfara State, but thankfully, the pilot escaped. The gallant pilot Abayomi Dairo successfully ejected and sought refuge in nearby settlements awaiting sunset. One cannot even begin to imagine what his fate would have been had the bandits got to him before he was able to find the base. July also brought the 32nd Summer Olympic Games to Tokyo, a year after being postponed. In August, President Buhari was in Kano for the wedding fatiha of his son Yusuf Buhari to the daughter of the Emir of Bichi, Zara Nasir Bayero. Also, August saw the conclusion of the 2020 Summer Olympics held in Tokyo, Japan. The Olympics were originally scheduled for July to August 2020, but were postponed due to COVID-19. The United States came in tops, followed by China and Japan. Nigeria came in 74th with a single silver and bronze medal. For a population of over 200 million, many sports pundits concurred that Nigeria's performance was indeed extremely disappointing. In the United States, August saw the withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan after a 2-decade war that took the lives of over 2,400 U.S. service personnel. Like a blockbuster Hollywood movie, images of Afghans falling from the skies while trying to hang onto the wings of a plane in an apparent effort to flee the Taliban left many horrified around the world in mid-August. Images of the Taliban celebrating inside the country's hallowed presidential palace signified the capitulation of Afghanistan to the Taliban 20 years after it was removed from power in a US-led military invasion. The Ember month came with so much surprises and disappointments. On 10th September, a newborn baby was kidnapped at Abdullahi Wasi Specialist Hospital by a woman identified as Mariam. However, the baby was rescued with the efforts of a staff of Rahma Radio in Kano alongside Kano Police Force. Also, it was a tragic day on 15th November as Kano lost one of its sons, Sani Dangote, younger brother to Africa's richest man, Alhaji Aliko Dangote. Kano also lost one of its elder statesmen, Sarkin Ban Kano, Alhaji Mukhtar Adnan. He died at the age of 95. Still in the Ember months, a canoe capsized and 42 people lost their lives, still in Kano. Also, the Ember months began with another West African coup in Guinea. Guinea's president Alpha Condé was detained by an elite military unit led by a former French legionnaire, Lieutenant Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, who seized power. In an ironical twist, images of Doumbouya holding an umbrella for President Condé on a sunny day flooded social media. This brings to mind the saying that the saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. In Nigeria, about 60 people were killed when an airstrike hit a fish market in the village of Kwatar Dabam Masara in Borno State. The country's 61st anniversary was overshadowed by challenges such as general insecurity, rising unemployment, disunity, and high cost of living. The dreams our forefathers had for Nigeria upon independence is still yet to be materialized. U.S. saw the implementation of the Texas Heartbeat Act, which bans abortions after roughly 6 weeks. The Supreme Court has declined to block the law, saying it's a question for lower courts. October brought the welcome news that the World Health Organization had endorsed the world's first vaccine against malaria. As many Nigerians were ushering in the new month of November with prayers, gratitude, and beseeching favors from their creator, the nation reverberated with the shocking news and screaming headlines of a building collapse. A 21-story building under construction collapsed at Gerard Road in Ikoyi, Lagos State. By the time the dust settled, about 42 people had died. It was not the first time that this sort of incident had occurred. Since 2005, at least 152 buildings had collapsed in Lagos State alone. As if the Ikoyi incident wasn't saddening enough, another 2-story building under construction in Badagry, also in Lagos State, collapsed barely 2 weeks after killing 4 people. In the same month, researchers in South Africa brought the Omicron COVID-19 variant to the world's attention. Instead of applauding the noble efforts of South African scientists, the European Union, the United States, and the United Kingdom led the world into blanket travel bans on Southern African countries that later included other African countries like Nigeria. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres aptly called it travel apartheid. Many discerning observers noted the colonial undertones of the Omicron-related travel bans on African countries. On a Tuesday, the last day of November, the sad news of the death of Sylvester Oromoni made headlines. His death was attributed to multiple internal injuries he reportedly sustained after being beaten by fellow students who were bullying him at his boarding school in Darwin College, Lagos. His death brought to light once again the insidious menace of bullying that is fast becoming a culture among students across secondary schools in Nigeria. In December, tornadoes ripped through the South and Midwest, killing at least 91 people in the United States. In the last 365 days, the world has literally been through the ringer, and as we bid farewell to 2021, one can only hope and pray that 2022 brings better days, peace, and prosperity for most of us. Here is a toast as we end our sprint down memory lane in this 2021 year in review.